Welcome back to episode 4 of the Investment Fund Series, and today we need to start this episode off with some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the investment fund is going really well, and I've been able to hit some stellar margins. Now, the bad news is I haven't really recorded a lot of it. So here on screen right now is the complete log of flips that I hit. As you can see, we made an absolute killing on the Nihil Dust and the Giant Frog Legs. Those were two really good flips for us. The Dynamite and the Magic Longbows as well have been just a solid performer. But don't worry, we'll showcase more of those flips today. After purchasing the bonds from last episode, we're sitting at a 238 mil cash stack. Today, we're getting back into our flipping, continuing our strategy of passive flips as we begin to hunt for our next investment. Of course, if you guys enjoy this one, be sure to drop a like and be sure to join us on Discord to continue the conversations around flipping and money making in RuneScape. Here we are back on the investment fund account, 238 mil in the cash stack. We're going to spread this money out across like 7 or 8 passive flips. And remember that the goal of this account is to slowly flip items that have a high ROI that we don't have to focus on too much. So flips that we can just put in the Grand Exchange, log out for a week, and not really have to think about, that will make us a decent profit. One of those great items is the Dragon Spear, so I find you can flip the Dragon Spear pretty easily over the time frame of about a week. The price on it is super stable, and people do buy these for PvP. Sometimes larger clans will buy these to try and stun people and take their +1s in the wilderness. So they do have some natural demand, which I do like about this item. Another one of these items is the Mud Battle Staff. It has that natural demand, although it's not as much as the Dragon Spear. That being said, it is still a really easy item to flip over a week time frame, and the demand is there. We have filled up the Grand Exchange with our passive flips. We're trying some new items today as well, along with some old reliables such as the Mithril Darts and the Adamant Darts. These are so easy to passive flip. It's crazy how free money they are. But we're trying Mushrooms today, which is an item I have not flipped in the past. Really curious to see how this one's going to work. The volume on it looks a little bit low than I would typically like, but the margin is strong. We should be able to get a 50% ROI on all of the mushrooms that we flip. We also have the ham gloves and the ham cloaks in here as well. Super high ROI on both of these. But again, the volume is a lot lower than I typically flip, but I think we're going to be able to succeed. Anyway, we're going to let these flips sit for a couple of days, and I'll be back to check up on them. It has been 2 full days since I've set these offers, and we've had some buy action on every single item, which is amazing. That means we're on margin and we can let these flips sit. I will go ahead and sell these ham cloaks and the Dragon Spears. The Dragon Spears bought a lot faster than I expected, and I don't think the margin is going to be as good as we'd like, but it'll still make us some gold. Although the ham cloaks are going to work out really nicely, we're getting like a 1k margin on every single one, so ideally a 100k profit. Extremely good ROI. And the ham cloaks have sold. That is a 102k profit. Don't forget, we only invested 20k into this flip, so that is a insanely good ROI. We're gonna collect these ham cloaks, and I'm gonna use this empty slot to start selling my ham gloves. These have just spiked up to 5k each, so I'm gonna capitalize on these higher prices and see if I can make a really nice margin on the gloves. We're also going to take advantage of the price swing on the magic bows. The magic bows have hopped up to 1.3k each, so I'm going to turn around and sell the magic longbows for about 1.3k each, a little bit less, and we'll try to take advantage of this higher price. If we do sell it for this higher price, we will be getting about 1.2 mil on that flip, so that'll be very profitable as well. Dragon Spears are continuing to sell. This is a very strong start to picking up the investment fund again. A lot of profit coming in. My favorite thing about this series is you'll notice I'm not really investing that much GP into these flips. So you can do this if you don't have a lot of gold. You can flip these high ROI items. Yes, they will be a lot less consistent than some of the high volume stuff, but high ROI is going to make you more money for a smaller amount of cash. I truly only recommend high ROI investing if you have some flipping experience. Otherwise, you might mess things up, and since these items are low volume, there is a high chance you'll lose money in a bad scenario. It has been 2 days since we last logged on. We're currently up 3.1 mil on the week. We made a 1.15 mil on the magic longbows. And the mushrooms actually worked out pretty well, 780k, but I did see the price on mushrooms went all the way up to about 380 GP. So we could have made a lot more, potentially a mil on that flip. We still have some active offers right now. For everything that has finished, I'm going to put new offers in. And the ham gloves, I'm going to start selling back on the exchange. I'm also going to start selling these mud battle staffs. They have a really good margin, but the issue with them is the volume is not that high. We already have 175 of them. So this seems like a good time to start selling these back. We're making about 8k for every mud battle staff we sell, a little bit more than about 1.4 mil. There is one item I'm seeing right now which is ripe for an investment, and that is the bowstrings. The bowstrings have crashed a ton this past month. They're at 70 GP right now. In my opinion, this will easily recover to around the 100 GP range. This does happen every once in a while with bowstrings. You'll even see on the 6-month graph that it has climbed back up in price over the course of about, I would say, a 2.5-month period. So this seems like a very good opportunity for us to make a long-term investment in bowstrings. Remember that bowstrings are used in the fletching skill, and a lot of what's fletched actually ends up being out. So that is how they are sunk from the game. They're currently trading at about 70 GP, but we're going to put it in for 72 GP each to make sure we're hitting limit every single time. And we're going to go pretty big on this one. I think I'm going to put about 2 million bowstrings into the Grand Exchange. That's going to cost us 144 mil. Hopefully they buy relatively fast. If the price stays low for about 2 weeks, we should be able to get at least 1 million bowstrings. If that is the case, we'll be able to make 20 GP for every bowstring and walk away with a nice profit of about 20 mil. All right, I've made my investment into the bowstrings. We're going to leave that for a while. We'll keep an eye on the price to make sure it keeps buying. But for our other flips, I've listed the cannonballs, dragon arrows, and manta rays. These are more of an overnight flip. I'm going to check on these tomorrow to see how they do. I wasn't finding a ton of great high ROI items for me to passive flip at this moment, and we just bought half of our dragon arrows, which is a great sign. Kidding, of course, but I'll list those back to sell overnight as well. Likely going to get about a, I don't know, maybe a 20 GP margin on those dragon arrows. That would be nice. The cannonballs and the manta rays look a little bit more promising as they've had some increased volatility. With this series, I do want to make sure I'm showcasing overnights as well as passive flips and investments. So that was why I wanted to list a few overnights for us to focus on for the next flipping session. I just launched a RuneScape investment newsletter, which points out the best item investments I find within the game every single month. So if you're someone who wants to make long-term investments in game but don't have the time or expertise to find good opportunities, consider checking out my Patreon page with the link in the description below. I also have written flipping guides, item flipping lists, and an example newsletter that you can view completely for free. Anyway, back to the video. We're back. It is the next day, and we made 165k on the dragon arrows, which is quite good. Also, the rest of the ham gloves sold for 4.6k each. That is a 630% ROI on the 153 ham gloves that we flipped. That is just a really good item with an insane ROI. And to be honest, I don't know why people are buying these. Some kind of fashionscape, I guess, but I'm happy about it. Also, on top of this, the manta rays and the cannonballs are looking like a great flip. We're getting about a 10 GP margin on the cannonballs, as well as about a 30 GP margin on the manta rays. So we're looking really profitable on both. And in the blink of an eye, the cannonballs sold. That is a 430k profit on the cannonballs. Not too bad. I also listed the Dragon Scimitar, which is a new long-term passive flip for me. So we're going to try that out, as well as the Dragon Med helmets. I'm thinking of also flipping some more of the Dragon Spears as well, just to make sure we're building in that passive profit. I haven't been on the account in about a week, but things are looking pretty decent. We were able to sell all of the Dragon Spears and the Adamant Darts. Adamant Darts made us about 1.5 mil, and the Dragon Spears netted us another 500k. So both really easy, simple flips. I did try to sell a few Scimitars, but they didn't sell for 61k. So we'll lower the margin on that a little bit and try to sell off the about 1,000 scimitars that we have. We're also slowly building up that bowstring investment as well. Currently have 600,000 bowstrings, put about 42 mil into it so far. We're going to continue to keep putting money into this until we sink about 140 mil into the investment. But really right now, I'm just going to adjust all my flips, reset some stuff, and keep churning over that profit. Cycling in some new flips, we have the saltpeter and the vampire dust, as well as the lizardman fangs. I don't think we flipped any of those in this series so far. But we also have one of our classics, the bolt racks, on there as well. Just kind of sitting back and observing all of our flips right now, trying to get some decent margins on a lot of this stuff, like the mud battle staff, as well as the dragon scimitars, although we're not going to be able to make as much on those. Dragon med helms actually had a decent margin, 3.4k for every single one that we flip, which is pretty good for a passive flip, but we didn't buy that many of them, only 160, and that's because the buy limit on those is only 8 every 4 hours. So they're a little bit hard to pick up. It's been about a month since I've checked the account, 3 weeks to be exact, but everything here has sold, although I wanted to make an update because there are some big changes. Now that the Grand Exchange tax is 2% up from 1%, some of these flips are going to change in the way we list them and the way we profit from them. Because items only 50 GP and under are now subject to no tax, that does change some of our flips, such as the bolt racks, which is one of my personal favorites, but we should still be able to make a fair bit of money. The one item we're struggling to sell right now is the saltpeter. We tried to sell this for 10 GP, but literally none of them sold. We bought all of them for, I think, 6 GP. Yeah, 6 GP, and right now they're trading between like 5 and 7 GP. So what I'll try and do is sell these off for 7 GP and see if we can actually get them off. And if so, good, we made a little bit of money. I don't think I'm going to flip this in the future. As always though, another round of passive flips for the investment account. I did do the proselyte, salet, and the queese. I don't know how to say that properly, but these are flips that I've done in the past, and they tend to be very good passive flips, so I want to try them out again. Also, we have the giant frog legs, which is a new one here, although I have flipped them off of this series, and they did really good. I've made over 30 mil flipping giant frog legs alone. As always, passive profit is king. Let's let this sit for a couple of days and check on our offers. It's been about 36 hours since I last checked these flips. The saltpeter is selling, which is awesome, and I just noticed that the proselyte pants, they are actually selling for a huge margin right now, so I'm actually going to turn around and start to flip these. It's saying we can sell them for like over 12k, so I'm going to go ahead and list that. I also did a quick adjustment on the giant frog legs. Someone had overcut my offer, so I bumped up the offer to be competitive, and I'm not going to fight too hard for this one. If I keep getting overcut, I'll just leave it and try to flip something else. But the last time I flipped the giant frog legs, it was a huge ROI, so I'd like to do it again. The proselyte has sold. That is an excellent flip for us. 1.5 mil on the legs and 350k on the salets. Very good flip overall. We also bought all of the dragon spears, which we're going to turn around, and the dragon daggers are actually selling for about 21k each, so we're looking at a really strong margin on about 500 of them, so going to sell those as well. I think I'll try and sell these dragon spears around the 40.5k mark. I always try to sell them for as high as I can, and I think we'll be able to sell that. Should be getting like a 2.5k margin for each one. You can also see that the dragon daggers are pretty high in price as well, selling at like 21k each, so we're definitely going to sell those off. And we'll also sell back the lizardman fangs. You'll notice that the graph on those also looks very consistent, just like the dragon spears and the dragon daggers. And it's important to remember that on this account, I'm primarily passive flipping, so I'm doing really safe flips that you don't have to check on very often. That's pretty much the goal for this investment account. On top of that as well, I will be building long-term investments, which is why we have the bowstrings here, which we've bought 420,000 of them. I'll go ahead and collect that. We're now up to 2.1 million bowstrings invested. Those 2.1 million bowstrings are actually coming out to a fair bit of money invested. That's 158 mil invested in that right now, which is quite a fair bit. I'm gonna try flipping the ham gloves. This is a flip I've been doing on my new Goldman mode series, and it actually turned out really well on that account, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe try and flip 1,500 of these. They are quite hard to flip as the volume's really low, but the margins can be like 3 to 4K, so really strong margins overall. There's also still a really good margin on the proselyte legs, so I'm going to go ahead and try and flip 1,000 of them. They're at a little bit higher of a price than last time, but overall, I think it's a relatively low-risk flip. For the most part, the trades look solid. I do wish I was making a little bit more money though, and I'd like to put a little bit more risk on some of these trades, but I don't think I'll do that until the saltpeter finishes selling and I can fill another slot. The giant frog legs are a pretty risky one overall, so we're going to let those sit and everything looks good. It's been a bit over a week since I've last checked this account, and a lot of this stuff has sold back. Really good profits all around. In total, we made about 3.9 mil on the proselyte legs. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Pretty much a 100% ROI, so that was really solid. The 509 dragon daggers made us a 1.5 mil profit, which is also really good for dragon daggers. And the dragon spears at this point have also made us about 1.5 mil. Anyway, I'm going to clean up the rest of these items. We're going to leave the adamant darts in, but we'll collect the profit on the saltpeter and the lizardman fangs. And we'll probably cancel the offer for the ham gloves as well, because they're just not really selling, or they're not buying, excuse me, as far as I thought they would. I thought we'd have a full limit of those by now, and really the margin's not that great considering we only have 150 of them. But an item that is working out quite well is the giant frog legs. These have slowly been buying for around 2,625 GP, and we should be able to easily sell them for over 500k. So we're going to go ahead and list those, which we're pretty much doubling up on that flip, which I'm very excited about considering we've put about 4.2 mil into the flip so far, and we should be getting back about 9 mil, which is a really good flip. I've flipped these in the past and they've honestly just worked out very well. Alright, we have our flips listed. 3 tax-free items, the Emerald Bolts, Oak Longbows U, and the Maple Logs. And while I have flipped the Maple Logs in the past, probably going to get about 4 GP each on those, which might not seem like a huge profit, but the buy limit is 15k every 4 hours, so we'll be able to buy a lot of those. But the Oak Longbow and the Emerald Bolt tips, I've never flipped in my life. These are 2 tax-free items that look like they fluctuate a little bit more and have slightly less volume than those Maple Logs. And honestly, overall, the Emerald Bolts look pretty cheap right now, so I do think if we fill a large limit of those, we might get lucky if things turn around. Might be able to get like 10 to 15 GP each on those, and at a 300k margin, that would be a lot of profit. Around the 4.5 mil range, and it's going to be pretty risk-free and tax-free, so honestly a win all around. Alright, it's been about a week. We are back. Oak Longbows and the Maple Logs have started to buy, which is awesome. We also have so many adamant darts. I really want to turn these around. The giant frog legs, we're going to adjust those as well. Just a lot of great activity all around here on the exchange, so we're going to move a couple items around and reinvest back into some items. These Emerald Bolt tips did not really work out, so we'll just sell those back instantly. They should actually make us a slight profit here, and it was tax-free, which is quite nice. We also sold these ham gloves, which was a high ROI, but not necessarily a great flip. The margin on the ham gloves was really good. We did get a 260% ROI, which is actually pretty crazy, and we did buy them for about 1,000, sold them back for 3,500 each. So it was a decent ROI flip, but it didn't make us a lot of money overall, considering how long it took. Like, compared to the frog legs, they're just not even comparable. I mean, we're making about 2.8k each for a 100% ROI, but we're able to flip them a lot more successfully and a lot more volume of them, currently up on a 3.3 mil profit on frog legs alone, and we have a bunch more we have to sell back. What I'm going to do right now is keep our buy offers in for the Oak Longbows, Maple Logs, and the Adamant Darts, and I'll leave the Dragon Spears there as well. They're currently trading at a very cheap price. I might actually buy more of these, I haven't decided yet, but all in all, I'm going to go in and keep some offers in and sell back the quantities we do have. Ended up selling back the Oak Longbows and the Maple Logs. We'll leave those there. We're getting about a 14 GP margin on the Oak Longbows, which is pretty good, and a little bit less on the Maple Logs, about 3 GP, so nothing crazy there. But keep in mind, we're using very safe passive flips in the series. Literally, all of this stuff is so hands-off. I don't even pay attention to it. That's why every time I log in, the clips are like a week apart. Anyway, we've also got the Dragon Spears listed as well. These are trading a little bit cheaper than I normally see them, so we're going to take advantage here. Currently, right now, they're trading for about 36.5k each. These are an easy sell in like the 40.8k range, although it does take some time, but honestly, not worried about it at all. We're going to leave these flips in for now until the next episode, but real quick, I want to do a recap of where we stand from an investment fund standpoint and how much we have. Right now, we have about 123 mil working on the Grand Exchange. In addition, we have a couple other items. We have all of our bowstring investment, which is at about 130 mil, plus our liquid cash, 131 mil, and then 2 bonds, which we'll say are like 15 mil each. And that brings us to about a 284 mil cash stack. The bonds were not meant to be an investment. They were meant to be for a giveaway we were going to do, but I'm still planning on giving these away, although I might hold them for a little bit longer, sell them back, and then buy some more bonds in the future. It's important we keep a lot of liquid cash on the account, and the further we get with our cash stack, the more giveaways I can do in the future, as it'll be easier to make money. Anyway, that was a very long-winded way of saying we have a 284 mil in the investment fund. Let's leave the account there for now. Hopefully in the next episode, we can push well above the 300 mil cash stack with our passive flips and investments. And a quick tidbit on the bowstrings, I'm going to look into buying more of these between this episode and next episode. And the reason for that is they're only trading for 62 GP right now, which I know for a fact for me is a really cheap price for bowstrings. So I'm very comfortable going in on that price based on historic trends. So I think it's going to be a really safe and easy profit and is going to benefit our account in the long run. Anyway, I cannot thank you enough for watching this episode. Feel free to drop a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.